I've decided to start a new life without you." The words hung in the air of the upscale restaurant where we'd gathered to celebrate our son Ethan's college graduation. Evelyn, my wife of 28 years, stood with her champagne glass raised, her announcement cutting through the toast she was supposed to be making to Ethan's achievements. The clinking of silverware ceased. Conversations halted mid-sentence. 50 pairs of eyes darted between Evelyn and me, waiting for my reaction, for the anger, the pleading, the dramatic exit everyone expected. Instead, I smiled. "Congratulations on your honesty. My name is Daniel Carter. I am 56 years old, and until this moment, I had been the dutiful husband and father. I'd put my own ambitions on hold to support Evelyn through her medical residency, her burnout, and her sudden passion for interior design, a phase that cost us $50,000 before she abandoned it. I'd been the one to coach Ethan's soccer team, attend every parent-teacher conference, and quietly cover the bills when Evelyn's spending spiraled. From the corner of my eye, I saw Mark Reynolds, Evelyn's personal trainer and, as it turned out, her lover, shifting uncomfortably at the corner table. The same Mark who'd joined us for Thanksgiving last year and joked about how lucky I was to have Evelyn. The same friends who'd known about the affair but never thought to warn me. With calm precision, I reached into my suit pocket and pulled out a sealed navy blue envelope. I placed it beside Evelyn's plate. "What's this?" she asked, her triumphant smirk faltering. "Something for you to read later," I replied, my voice steady. I turned to Ethan, whose face had gone pale, and clasped his shoulder. "I'm so proud of you, son. This day is still about you." Then I stood, adjusted my tie, and addressed the room. "Enjoy the celebration. I wish you all a wonderful evening." I walked out, head high, feeling the weight of every stare. The restaurant door slammed shut behind me, cutting off the first whispers of scandal. Outside, the summer heat was oppressive, but it felt like freedom. The door burst open again. "Daniel!" Evelyn's voice was no longer smug. It was shrill, panicked. "What the hell is this? What did you do?" I didn't turn around. The envelope contained the first move in a game I'd been planning for months. I had always been the steady one in our marriage. While Evelyn chased her latest passions, each one more expensive than the last, I managed the finances, the household, and the unspoken sacrifices. I was the one who'd quietly sold my vintage car collection to pay for Ethan's freshman year, when Evelyn's wellness retreat drained our savings. I was the one who worked late nights as a corporate attorney, while she posted blessed photos from yoga retreats with Mark. 3 months ago, I noticed discrepancies in our joint accounts, small withdrawals to a spa in the Bahamas, a jewelry store, a luxury rental agency. At first, I assumed it was another one of Evelyn's impulsive phases. But then I found the email. An auto-login on our shared laptop had left her inbox open. There it was, a lease agreement for a beachfront condo in Mark's name, paid for from our account. Subject line, "Our new beginning heart." I could have confronted her then, but anger is a luxury for those who can afford mistakes. Instead, I got to work. What I uncovered was worse than I imagined. Evelyn had been siphoning money for over a year. She'd booked couples retreats with Mark, bought him a Rolex, and even co-signed a lease for their apartment, all while telling me we needed to live frugally for Ethan's sake. Then came the texts I found when Evelyn left her phone unlocked. Mark, "Is Daniel still clueless?" Evelyn, "Of course, he's too busy playing the perfect husband to notice." Mark, "After Ethan's graduation then?" Evelyn, "Yes, publicly. He won't dare make a scene." What Evelyn forgot, or never bothered to learn, was that I'd spent 30 years dissecting contracts and loopholes. I knew how to trace hidden assets, and I definitely remembered the prenuptial agreement we'd signed 28 years ago. back when her family money outweighed mine. The agreement she had insisted on to protect her future independence included an infidelity clause that would now gut her. While Evelyn fantasized about her new life with Mark, I was building my case. I hired a forensic accountant. I documented every transfer. I recorded conversations, legal in our state. I filed divorce papers the morning of Ethan's graduation, before her big announcement, but kept them sealed until the perfect moment. Evelyn thought she was the mastermind. She didn't realize I'd already rewritten the ending. I didn't return to the restaurant. Instead, I drove to our home, a sprawling Tudor in the suburbs we'd bought when Ethan was born, the house Evelyn had already promised to Mark, according to the texts I'd screenshot. I parked in the driveway and walked into what had been our home for 20 years. Everything looked the same: the family photos, the grand piano Evelyn never learned to play, the leather armchair where I'd read bedtime stories to Ethan. But nothing would ever be the same. Upstairs, I opened Evelyn's closet. Half her clothes were already gone, the hangers crooked and empty. A suitcase sat in the corner, packed for her grand exit tomorrow. I smirked at her predictability. She'd always been meticulous about appearances, but careless with the truth. My phone buzzed relentlessly. Messages from friends at the restaurant, from Ethan, even from Evelyn's brother James, who'd flown in for the graduation. I responded only to my son. "I'm okay. This isn't your burden. Enjoy your night. We'll talk tomorrow. Love you." I'd shielded Ethan from the truth for months, not wanting to taint his final semester. He'd be furious I hadn't told him, but he'd understand. He'd inherited my analytical mind, along with his mother's charm, a combination that made him valedictorian. 3 hours later, tires screeched in the driveway. The front door flew open. "Daniel!" Evelyn's voice sliced through the house. "Where the hell are you?" I sat in my study, calmly reviewing deposition transcripts. I closed the file as she stormed in, face flushed, the navy envelope crumpled in her fist. "What is this?" she demanded, slamming the papers on my desk. "You filed for divorce today?" "On Ethan's graduation?" "I thought you'd appreciate the symmetry," I said, steepling my fingers. "You wanted a fresh start. I'm simply expediting the process." "You had no right—" "I had every right," I interrupted, "just as you had every right to fuck Mark in our bed while I was working late to pay for his personal training certifications." Her mouth opened, then snapped shut. The prenup's infidelity clause suddenly seemed to dawn on her. "That agreement expired," she said, forcing a smirk. "No judge will enforce it after 28 years. I reached into my desk drawer and slid a highlighted copy toward her. Section 14, subsection B. Infidelity provisions remain binding indefinitely during marriage and subsequent divorce proceedings. Your lawyer should have explained that. Oh, wait, you didn't consult one, did you? The blood drained from her face as the math became clear. The house, the Vermont ski lodge, her share of my firm's partnership, all slipping through her manicured fingers. Her grand restaurant spectacle had just become the most expensive performance of her life. "You bastard," she whispered. "We made vows," I said evenly. "You broke them, not me." Her phone lit up with Mark's caller ID. She silenced it. Too late. "Trouble in paradise already?" I nodded at her screen. "Let me guess. He's at the apartment you leased together, wondering why his key doesn't work." Her head jerked up. "How did you—" "I spoke to the property manager this morning. Funny thing, when they ran Mark's credit, it turns out he's $80,000 in debt. The application was denied." I stood, straightening my cuffs. "But don't worry, I'm sure your savings can cover a motel." Evelyn's composure shattered. "You're enjoying this." "No," I said, locking the prenup in my safe. "I'm just not losing anymore." She lunged for my desk drawer, where she knew I kept the spare keys, but I caught her wrist. "James is picking me up in 10 minutes, I said, releasing her. "You have until noon tomorrow to remove the rest of your things. After that, the locksmith arrives." As I packed an overnight bag, Evelyn's phone rang again. This time she answered. "Not now, Mark," she hissed, then gasped. "What do you mean the accounts are frozen?" I allowed myself a small smile. The emergency court order had gone through right on schedule. James lived in a modern loft downtown, close to the courthouse where he worked as a prosecutor. When I arrived, he greeted me with a stiff handshake that turned into a rare hug. "Ethan just called," he said, pouring 2 fingers of bourbon. "He's on his way. He's not taking it well." "I didn't expect him to," I admitted, swirling the amber liquid. "But better he finds out now than after Evelyn moved Mark into our home." James's jaw tightened. "I still can't believe she did this. And at Ethan's graduation?" "She wanted an audience," I said. "She thought I'd crumble in front of everyone." My phone buzzed, a notification from my attorney. The judge had granted the temporary freeze on Evelyn's separate accounts, the ones she'd been hiding, the same accounts that had paid for Mark's business ventures. The elevator dinged. Ethan stormed in, still in his graduation slacks, his tie loose and his face flushed. "Dad," he said, voice cracking. "What the hell is going on? Mom's telling everyone you're having a breakdown, that you've been obsessively planning this for months." I handed him my phone, open to the screenshots of Evelyn's texts with Mark. "See for yourself." Ethan's eyes scanned the messages, his mother's laughter about my cluelessness, her plans to leave me publicly, the condo lease dated 2 weeks before his finals. His hands shook. She was going to do this during my law school exams," he whispered. James cursed under his breath. "Classic Evelyn, always perfect timing." Ethan sank onto the couch, running a hand through his hair. "All those times she complained about money, about how we needed to cut back, and she was funneling it to him." Before I could answer, the intercom buzzed. The doorman's voice crackled. "Mr. Carter, there's a situation in the lobby." James sighed. "Let me guess. My sister and the gym rat." The lobby showdown. Evelyn marched in first, her designer heels clicking like gunshots. Mark trailed behind, his biceps straining against a too-tight dress shirt, eyes darting like a cornered animal. "Daniel," Evelyn spat, "you need to stop this. Unfreeze the accounts. Now." "The court's orders aren't up to me," I said calmly. Mark stepped forward, chest puffed. "Dude, this is messed up. You can't just—" "You," Ethan cut in, rising to his full height, 6'2", same as mine. "Don't get to talk. You've been screwing my mom in my childhood home while eating my dad's food. Sit down." Mark blinked, then actually sat. Evelyn's mask slipped. "Ethan, baby, this isn't what it looks like." "Really?" Ethan pulled up the condo lease on his phone and shoved it at her. "Then explain why you signed this the day before my criminal law final." Silence. James broke it with a dry chuckle. "Evie, you picked a guy who folds under undergrad pressure, not your best play." Mark's phone rang. He glanced at it, paling. "It's the bank." Evelyn whirled on me. "What did you do?" "Nothing," I said. "But your little business loan to Mark's failed supplement company, the one you co-signed, that's in default, and since your assets are frozen—" Mark shot up. "Wait, what? Evie, you said the account was—" "Shut up, Mark," she screamed. Ethan laughed bitterly. "Wow, true love." Evelyn's composure finally shattered. "Daniel, please," she begged, tears smudging her mascara. 28 years. Doesn't that mean anything?" I met her gaze. "It meant everything, until you made it mean nothing." The elevator dinged again. 2 process servers stepped out. "Evelyn Carter," one said, "you've been served." Mark backed toward the exit. "I'm out." Evelyn's scream echoed through the loft as he bolted. The courthouse smelled of lemon polish and stale coffee. I adjusted my cuffs as Evelyn stormed in, flanked by a harried-looking attorney, some family friend she'd strong-armed into representing her. Her eyes were bloodshot, her usually flawless hair pulled into a messy bun. Mark was conspicuously absent. "You look like hell, Evie," James muttered behind me. Ethan, suited up in his graduation blazer, clenched his jaw. "Good." The judge, a no-nonsense woman with a reputation for eviscerating liars, entered. Evelyn's lawyer immediately launched into a rambling speech about marital misunderstandings and dated prenups. The judge silenced him with a raised hand. "Mr. Weiss, save it for closing arguments. We're here to review the preliminary injunction." She turned to my attorney, Philip. "Counselor." Philip didn't smile. He didn't need to. "Your Honor, as outlined in Exhibit 12, Mrs. Carter violated Section 7 of the prenuptial agreement by diverting marital assets to fund an extramarital relationship." He slid a binder across the table. "This includes $28,000 in spa charges, a leased Mercedes in Mr. Reynolds' name, and a defaulted business loan she co-signed, all while claiming financial hardship to my client." Evelyn's chair screeched as she stood. "That's a lie. Daniel knew about—" "Sit down, Mrs. Carter," the judge snapped. She flipped through the documents, pausing at a highlighted text chain. "This your writing? Transfer the money to the Cayman account before Daniel notices." Evelyn paled. Philip pressed on. "We're also submitting Exhibit 14, audio recordings of Mrs. Carter admitting to the affair and her intent to conceal assets." "Illegal wiretapping," Evelyn's lawyer blurted. "Legal in this state with single-party consent," Philip said smoothly. My client was a participant in all recorded conversations. The judge's glasses glinted as she reviewed the prenup. "This fidelity clause is ironclad. Mr. Carter, you're aware that enforcing it leaves your wife with only her separate property?" I nodded. "I am." Evelyn made a choked sound. "Separate property? That's just my grandmother's necklace and the $200,000 in credit card debt you hid," I finished, "which, per Section 9, remains yours alone." The gallery erupted. James had to physically restrain Ethan from cheering. The judge slammed her gavel. "Order! Preliminary ruling stands. All joint accounts remain frozen. The marital home is awarded to Mr. Carter pending final decree." She fixed Evelyn with a withering stare. "As for you, Mrs. Carter, I suggest you find better counsel before the next hearing." The parking lot ambush. Evelyn cornered me by my car, her perfume soured by sweat. "You think you've won?" she hissed. "I'll drag this out for years. I'll tell the press you abused me. You'll do nothing," I said, unlocking the door. "Because if you do, Exhibit 15 gets leaked to the state medical board." Her breath hitched. "What's Exhibit 15? "Your little side business writing opioid prescriptions for Mark's gym clients." I smiled. "Have fun explaining that to your malpractice insurer." For the first time in 28 years, Evelyn Carter had nothing to say. 6 months later, the brass plaque on my office door gleamed under the morning sun. Carter and Associates, Financial Litigation. Inside, Ethan sat across from me, flipping through a case file with the same focused intensity he'd had as a kid solving chess puzzles. "You're sure about this?" I asked, sliding the partnership papers toward him. "Big firms would kill to have you." He signed without hesitation. "Why chase prestige when I can learn from the guy who outmaneuvered Mom with her own prenup?" The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Carter, your 10:30 is here. A Mrs. Delaney says it's about spousal asset concealment." Ethan smirked. "Business booming?" Turns out there's a market for men who don't want to get financially gutted in divorce court, I said, straightening my tie. Through the glass door, I spotted James leading a shell-shocked woman into the conference room, another Evelyn in the making, right down to the defensive grip on her designer handbag. The fallout, via headlines. Ethan tossed a newspaper onto my desk. The society section blared. Local physician Evelyn Carter suspended after prescription scandal. Failed supplement. CEO Mark Reynolds files for bankruptcy. Historic Tudor home sold to tech mogul for record price. My old house, now funding Ethan's law school loans. The ironic twist. At lunch, James handed me an envelope. From Evie. She left it at my place. Inside was a photo of us on our honeymoon. Young, hopeful, her head on my shoulder. Scrawled on the back, "You were always better at chess." I tucked it away, not with bitterness, but as a reminder. The man who'd built his life around Evelyn's whims was gone. In his place stood someone far more dangerous, a man who'd finally learned to play for himself.